am Dr. Davina Dietrich, and welcome to the Dental and Mental Podcast. Today, it is just the mental side of the podcast. I do not have Galen with me today, but instead, I have brought a guest. I want to introduce you to Dr. Shamaine Giron, and one of the reasons that I really wanted to have her on a podcast is that Galen and I have been talking about the different phases and roles for women in dentistry and how it really differs from men. And so the conversation today, I think, is going to be really insightful because Dr. Shamaine Giron has a very interesting story. If you recognize the last name, she is the wife to Dr. Devin Giron, which is Galen's partner up at Vita Dental Studio. She is a dentist herself, and she, until recently, had her own practice separate from Devin and was managing and running that practice and has transitioned into full-time motherhood and homemaking. So I really wanted to have the conversation with her about the transition, about ownership, around the differences that she's feeling from transitioning into a pretty competitive field into childcare and homemaking and what that feels like. So come and join us for this conversation.
Welcome to the Dental and Mental Podcast.
We are going to be talking to you about the business and the mindset of dentistry. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So one of the reasons I really wanted to have this conversation with you is because we are friends in real life.
Yep.
We are friends in real life. And you and I have, because together, you and I have a combined 7 children.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've got
We
4.
Yeah, I have 3. So together, you and I have 7 kids. We have husbands who practice together. And so it is not always the easiest thing for us to make time because you have recently had a baby.
Yes.
As well.
Yep, 10 months old, so still in that newborn phase and running around with 3 other kids.
Yeah. So this conversation is going to be really fun because you and I haven't had it in real life. We're going to be having it. We're going to have our catch-up conversation of all the things that we wanted to talk about today on the podcast. So the first place that I wanted to start with is tell us a little bit about because you were a practice owner separate from Devin. Mm-hmm. He has Vita in Santa Fe with Galen, and you had your own practice here in Albuquerque where you were sole owner, and you have recently transitioned out of that. So I want to talk to you about going from practice ownership to transitioning into full-time homemaking.
Okay.
So what has been the thing that you are really surprised by from making that transition?
I was surprised at how long it would take me to kind of, I don't want to say decompress, but like transition out of work mode, so to speak, into like stay-at-home mom. I feel like I was running around with this crazy anxiety. So when I was working, I was just juggling too many plates. Like every day was like, oh, what am I missing? What am I missing? All the time. And it's been like 10 months since I stopped working because I think I was sold the practice, had a week, and then had the baby. So jumped right into stay-at-home mom life. But just recently have started to feel like I'm actually not working anymore, which is crazy because I haven't really been in the office. I haven't done any dentistry, like totally done with the practice, but my brain was still very actively trying to remember what else is missing.
Yeah.
And it was also in like kind of boss mode, so to speak, which was creating a lot of like masculine energy in my house. I could feel it with my husband. I could feel it with the kids. And I'm like, no, you need to tap into like your mom now. You're not having to run, this practice and be very cut and dry about things. Like you can be a little softer, gentler with everybody. I'm like, your job now at home is to create this environment that is very warm and welcoming in a place that everybody wants to be. Like the kids want to come home and this is their safe spot. Your husband is like, I'm done with work. Yay, I get to come home. Versus before when I was working, it was like, oh, we're both coming home, dead tired, work problems, staff problems, whatever, all that's involved with that, and not having any energy. Like there was nobody there to welcome us home. We were both tired.
We're both. Are you welcoming me? Am I welcoming you?
Anybody home? And so it was like instead of feeling, joy to come home, like I would come home and I literally was 8 minutes away from the house. So there were days where I'm like, I'm taking the long way because I need a few more minutes to decompress before I hit job number 2, which is, take care of my husband and my kids and be up all night and get myself prepared for tomorrow at the office. But then Devin would come home dead tired too. And so it was, there was just no good energy left from either of us. And then we're both bringing that to our kids. Now having that back, it's been a little bit of a transition for both of us.
Can you walk us through, because I've never asked you this, but what was the conversation in your household about you transitioning and selling your practice and going full time, right? Because you have two people that you guys met prior to dental school, went to dental school together. So how does that conversation come up where it's like, hey, we're both coming home dead tired. Yeah. What are we going to do about this? Are you cool with it? Walk us through your guys' decision-making as a married couple.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when I look back on it, it wasn't like a single conversation. It was like kind of just building, right? I bought the practice. Our first was 4 months old, so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Fast forward, baby number 2, it's getting a little bit harder, but I'm still juggling it because the world tells me I can do it all. I can be a mom and juggle the kids and the family, and I can have my cake and eat it too. And then I got pregnant with our third, and it was like a slap in the face. I just said, there's no way I can continue this. I can't. This is too much on my plate. It's worked out okay, and I've survived, but I've literally, I think, and I'm kind of sidestep, but type A people were always pushing the limit. How much can I do? How much can I take on? And I said, I think I've hit the limit. I've finally hit the wall where I think this is too much. And
did you guys always know you wanted to have kids? Because I think one of the things that people could say is well, why didn't you stop having kids at 2? Or, right? The decision to want a big family. Sure. Or is that something you guys always wanted?
Yes, but it wasn't a clear goal. It was, we want a family. How many kids? We didn't really know. I actually got into dentistry because of a pre-dental meeting that I'd gone to. And part of their spiel was how you could be a working mom. And I was like, cool. Because I, even at 20 or whatever, I knew I wanted to have a family. And I was like, I can still do something in the medical field, have a family. And that's how I got into dentistry. But as far as, knowing what we wanted as far as a family, I don't think we had an idea. It was just kind of, again, it was nobody told us you need to be thinking about how you want your family life. It was always you need to be getting your ducks in a row to get your career in order. Right.
And I'm trying to pass this DAT.
And that'll just happen, right?
Yeah.
It'll just happen. You'll figure it out. But it wasn't, the realization I'm having now looking back, it's I should have been planning not only how I was going to handle my career, but how am I going to handle my family? What type of family life do we really want? I think when I was imagining having a family and a career, I was like, we're going to have a family practice. Devin will be there. I'll be there. Once we start having kids, I can take time off and work part-time. That was always my idea in the back of my head. But life is life, and things don't always happen the way that you expect. We kind of got ourselves into 2 practices we had good intentions. Devin was driving to Santa Fe. It's an hour away. He was starting to get tired of the commute. He said, oh, this great practice came on the market in Albuquerque, female doctor. She's been growing it, young doctor. You would be good to replace her there, and we can grow that practice. Then I'll sell Santa Fe and come back, and we'll have our family practice in Albuquerque. And I said, okay, with a 4-month-old. And the idea that either one of us thought it was possible to grow a practice, to have that much energy to put into growing a practice so that 2 doctors could be there while I'm raising, our firstborn. We just didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
So fast forward, kind of coming back to your question on that decision to step away. I was pregnant with our third, and I was like, I can't continue doing this. And it was a kind of a weird conversation because I felt almost like I couldn't ask Devin to step away because I'm like, but I have this practice and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I mentioned it, you know, even for him, the way that he was thinking about things was like, well, maybe you can own it still and we'll get somebody to work it. And like, there was just this feeling of like, we can't get rid of this practice. You can't stop working because
it's a big
women
thing.
work and have kids. Like, that's what we do.
Right.
And it took, you know, that whole third pregnancy, and I just kept telling him, I don't think I can do this. I think I need to step away from dentistry. And the funny part, it wasn't just Devin, but like everybody I told this to, they felt like I wasn't making a decision that was true to me.
That's interesting.
Which was so...
Did people feel bad for you? Like, were they like...
I don't want to say bad. It was more like, you really want to give up all that time and that you've invested in your career?
Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
I don't feel like I've done that at all. Like, I still have the knowledge, and I still have all of the experience to do that if I'm done having kids and they're all in school and I say, yeah, I want to go back. Like, I could go buy another practice. I know what to do now. I can do it faster and better. Or I know, like, no, I don't want to do that. I can still go back and just be a dentist. Like, go
so
work.
Do you feel any weird identity things around that, right? Like, it's like, okay, you went from like, right, so boss mode, we'll call it that, right?
Yeah.
To like practice owner and doing this and having the family or whatever. And then if somebody's like, oh, you know, you shared this before we started the podcast, but going out to lunch with a friend and somebody saying, well, how do you spend your days now?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe hearing that in a way that, like, who knows, right? If you hear it in a way that it's like, well, what are you doing? Do you just...
It was triggering.
Do nothing? Yeah.
It was kind of like, almost like I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but like this identity shift from being like a boss girl or whatever you want to call it, to being a stay-at-home mom and knowing like my whole identity was wrapped up in my career, to now I'm about to do something I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I came into stay-at-home mom with like minimal skills. I mean, we joke about it all the time, but Devin is like, yeah, I taught you how to cut an onion. And I'm like, yeah, because I didn't even know how to do like some basic stuff in the kitchen. Like,
yes.
These are things that he taught me. And now I'm about to go be the best at this. And I'm like, it was almost kind of like, do I have any business considering being a stay-at-home mom? Because I don't know how to do that.
Well, it's one of the things that you and I have in common. Yeah. Is that I have no like homemaking skills. I didn't have any when I started becoming like transitioning more into a homemaking role. Right. I'm like, I am very unqualified for this position.
Right.
I don't know how to do a lot of these things, nor do I think that I like them when I transitioned into them, because we don't normally like things that we're not good at. Right. Right. Like it's not fun sucking.
We don't like to suck. And it's even harder again for like type A type people, dentists. Like we've all of our life been good at doing things. So to then say, I'm going to willfully choose to be not so good at something again as a grown-up and like start over is really daunting.
And things that you think that you should be good at, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems silly to be like, I don't know how to cut an onion.
Yeah.
That's a silly thing when you compare it to all the things that you are good at. And you're like, but how do I not get this? How do I not understand this very simple thing? Because I felt that way where I'm like, you are a smart person. Why do you not understand how to manage your home? And we were talking about like the older generation, right? Like like our mother-in-laws, my mom, your mother-in-law, your mom, these women can run circles around us from a homemaking perspective. And so you even feel more inadequate when you're like, how do you know how to do all of these things?
And they make it look so effortless. But you know, what's really funny is it's a skill like anything else. People will ask us as dentists, like, oh man, like you did that so fast. You did that so beautifully. And it's like, yeah, because I spent time and energy learning the skills, honing my, my craft. And it's like homemaking is a craft. Like you hone the skills. The best homemakers, they've been doing it a long time, right? Some people also, I always say, like some people are born with just a more natural ability to do these things, right? There's those kids in dental school that just are better artistically.
Right.
I mean, they just have an eye for it. They can do those things. So yes, it doesn't take as much time for them to become great at it. And it's like,
and we all knew who was going to be the oral surgeons too,
exactly,
right? Like you were like,
exactly.
oh, we know where
so
you're
it's
going.
Like, to think of homemaking as anything different, that was like a big mindset shift for me. Because again, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. How am I ever going to be good at homemaking? And I was like, don't be dumb. Like, take it one day at a time, learn the skills, keep practicing, keep at it, kid.
Yeah,
don't give up. And it's funny because even in 10 months, like before, I think we had, when I was working, I maybe cooked a home cooked meal like once a week, maybe. I mean, it got really bad towards the end where like between my mother-in-law, who was amazing and helped, like she was making our home cooked meals. And then the rest of the week I was like, we're getting some takeout or something really easy. And so even in 10 months like now, home cooked meals every day, we're cooking so good, we don't want to go out to eat because it's just like not the same anymore, right? It's like, yeah, we're going to stay home and eat because we're doing big things over here.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, cool. I'm starting to finally feel like, yeah, if I just keep working at it, we'll get there. And
what have you noticed? Because you said when you were owning the practice, you were really feeling pretty masculine and you were seeing that show up in your marriage or even in like the space that you were providing for your family, right? And you really are thinking about the space that you want to curate now is more magical, right?
Yeah.
So since you transitioned from ownership to being home, what have you noticed show up in your marriage and in your parenting?
It's really funny because before, like we've been married 7 years, 8 years, technically together though, like 22 years.
Yeah. So you and Devin met in high school.
Yeah. So we've been together a long time, but it's, in the last 5 years with all the changes, buying 2 practices, 4 kids, like a lot going on with 2 people coming home with masculine energy. It was like, we're just a partnership. We're just getting stuff done, right? It didn't feel like relationship anymore. And the transition from like leaving the practice and like kind of getting rid of that energy, I'm intentionally like, I can pour more energy into my husband. And like, we sat down and had a lot of talks about how to show up for each other, right? Which is really important. It was like getting those expectations out there of what he expected from me being at home, what I expected from him. It just set the groundwork for like rebuilding again and starting. And I don't want to say fresh, but like reviving what we already had.
Oh, I love that. I love that word.
And so it's been really difficult because I'm 41 now, like 35 years probably of my life with masculine energy, being the best, trying to crush everybody else. And I don't mean like crushing, but like, if you're going to be the best, you have to be like always competitive. And that competitive nature, I feel like, is more masculine. Like it's about being the best. Sure.
Right. You can't get into dental school because right. Right. Like
because you kind of like
it is performance based. Right.
Good job for getting those C's. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
No. So even that, and Devin and I, like, because we've known each other for so long, we grew up through that. We pushed each other. So there's always been that competitive nature. And even with our practices, like, there was a bit of a competitive nature. It shouldn't have been there. But for me, I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. So as he's like up-leveling his practice, I'm like trying to follow in suit right behind him. And then one day there was this realization that I'm like, but you're a mom and you don't need to be doing all that stuff. We have different roles to make this marriage work really well and be harmonious. I mean, if you have 2 people doing the same thing on the team, like, other stuff's just not getting done.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell Devin, we sit and we have these conversations kind of looking back on it. But it's like the beauty of a marriage is that there are 2 people that are helping bring the best of themselves and the things that they're strong at to make like a complete team.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just stuff that was lacking before when we were both trying to do the same stuff. We're both trying to provide for the home and both, trying to go out and win it. And it's just nice now that the void that was there is being filled by me now. Because there were times where I'm like, Devin, can you go hang out with the kids? Can you, I don't want to say mommy them, but can you go do these things that I'm better suited to do? Because sometimes I'm like, I got to do some work stuff.
Right.
And he's like, no, I can't.
Because
and
you guys
not
are
that
both
he couldn't
doing,
do them.
Well,
but
you
it's
guys
like,
are both doing the
yeah,
most,
we're both
right?
doing,
yeah.
and
it's like, I've got staff things that I've got to take care of. You've got staff things that we've got, like you guys are doing the same things in two practices.
Yeah. To speak to that though, is like, he's not as qualified, I guess, to do like the more nurturing stuff. Like that's not his natural ability, right? And the kids don't want that.
I was going to say, right? Like if your kids,
the kids are like, I need you to snuggle me. It's like, dads aren't for snuggling. I mean, they can snuggle.
Right.
And some dads, I'm not saying all dads, some dads are very good at that, but it's just not a natural, easy thing for them. It's easier, I think, for women, and not all women, but for most women to do that.
Right. And those are
that's
who
what
the kids
want.
I was going to say, that's who the kids are asking for, right? I want to hold you. I want to hold you.
And so it's like now being out of the practice, I can be there 100% now for the kids and for my husband. And it's so funny because like watching his demeanor change, even within like that first month, like he came home less drained because it was like, oh, I'm not tired, because he was helping too. Again, he taught me how to cut an onion. So he's just like more naturally inclined to cooking, and he's very particular about stuff. But he would
He's a damn good cook too.
He is.
He's a damn good cook
too.
He
would do a lot of, those things. And so it was draining on him too to come home and be taking care of some of the things at home. And now he's like, I don't have to worry about what we're going to have for dinner because I know you're at home taking care of that stuff. And so he could come home. I give him an opportunity to go decompress because, again, knowing what he's just dealt with all day.
Because you really get it.
I lived it.
Yeah, like you really get it.
I'm like, go take a bath or shower, go in the room, sit by yourself for a little bit, like decompress, and we'll see you in a little bit. Like, I give him that,
yeah,
because it's important. And
for sure,
he comes out a different person.
Yes.
Like I can tell the difference the nights he comes home really late and like he doesn't want to go home or go decompress, and he's trying to just hang out with us. It's like different energy. I'm almost like, just go.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, go take care of yourself and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your mindset, because I can already know, like, people will listen to this and say, okay, like that sounds great, but the feeling of, did you waste all the time in dental school and ownership? Like, does that feel like a waste? Wouldn't you have been better off just skipping all of that and marrying a dentist and just starting this 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever it is?
Not a waste. It's funny because I look back on it and I don't believe in like having regrets. I feel like everything, I don't want to say things are good or bad either. Like, I feel like you just learn lessons from everything, right? You either learn that you like something or that you didn't like something, and then you move on from there. And having had the practice, like I say sometimes, a little bit of regret jumping into practice because it took so much time to like turn the ship. Right? Because like I told Devin, this would be a different story if I was just working for somebody. I could say, hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks, I'm out. And then that's it. But like from the time I made the decision to leave, from the time I was out, was 2 years. So maybe even 3.
And talk about why it was 3 years from making the decision to exiting, in case people don't understand what that process is like, right? So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh, that's really cool, I would love to do that too. Yeah. You kind of giving a lay of the land of, these are the things that were necessary for me to actually transition out of ownership. Yeah. I couldn't give a 2-week notice.
Right. So yeah, I try and tell, like I've talked to other mom dentists, and they're like, but I think I want to own a practice. And I'm like, think really hard and long about it, because it's not.
Yeah, what would you say?
It is
Go
really
there.
not that easy.
Go there. What would you say to women who are like, I want to own a practice? And good for you, right? Do it or whatever. But what do you wish you would have known if you also were taking into account, I do want a family? When these two things are both the same, what do you wish somebody would have said? Just think about these things.
So, biggest thing, know what you want. What I mean by that is there's nothing wrong with the decision of, I want to be a business owner. But is that what you want, or is that what you think you need to do? Because society or your family or whatever has made you feel that that's what you need to do. Because again, like coming full circle back to how did I make the decision to leave? I think that I had the idea I needed to own a business, that I needed to be a dentist owner. And so it was like the natural next step of when the practice came on the market, I should do it. And even when it was there, I just had this gut feeling. I was like, I don't think this is the right thing to do, but I think I'm supposed to do this. So I did it. And I didn't listen to my gut. And, you know, fast forward to when I was deciding to get out of it, same problem came back of like, I don't think I'm supposed to leave, but my gut is saying that I need to not be doing this right now. And so I don't know where I saw it, but this idea of like you're climbing a mountain, you know, as you're building your life, your career, whatever, getting to the top and looking over and realizing you climbed the wrong mountain. It's like the idea of defining your idea of success. What does success mean to you? Not what does it mean to be a successful dentist, right? Because most people think being a successful dentist is you have your own practice, you work 4 days a week or 3.
You have all the cute swag too, all the cute swag,
you have
like
all the nice stuff. You've got the nice car,
the
you've
tech,
got the family,
right?
You've got
the
it all.
assistants too that like love you and adore you and like you're the best boss and
just
like
this, like
all of those romantic things. There's a practice that I follow on Instagram and I'm like, oh, this practice would definitely make me want to be a practice owner because it is just beautiful and magic and cool and fun and whatever ideas that we get. Like the fantasy is not just around relationship, right? It's around ownership
everything.
and
all of life.
Yeah, right.
And so striving towards this idea it's not even what you want. It's like, that's my big regret is like, I just worked really hard for the last 5 years for somebody else's dream. That was not my dream. But I felt like if I had to be honest with myself, my dream was to have a family, be a part owner, work part-time. But I didn't feel like it was okay. So again, to like female dentists that are thinking about owning a practice, it's like sit down and have a real discussion with your husband about what do we see, you know, our family life being like in the next 5-10 years. Because again, like ownership is, you get in, it takes some time to get out for multiple reasons. Like you got to build something that somebody wants to buy, right? You can't just put it on the
sell
market.
lemons.
It's like, it's like buying a house, right? I mean, like if
we got to do some updates.
For sale, you got to upgrade it. I had to upgrade my office. Like I had been working really hard. So, you know, numbers wise, things were looking good, but it's like, that takes time to build that. Like you can't just turn around and sell it. Like you get in and you're like 5 months later, I don't want to do this.
I remember you
might get lucky.
Being really intentional about like the numbers have to be at a certain place to be able to sell. Because we had that conversation where it's like, okay, where are you in this process? Yeah. And it was interesting watching you go through that because it was like all of these things have to be in a row for this to be an attractive. Yeah. Because
there's other offices on the market and it's like, what sets yours apart? Why would somebody want to buy your practice?
Right.
And then it's like house buying because you got to find just the right person. Like, you know, sometimes your house is attracting all the dentists and sometimes it's like finding just the right person. And, you know, I worked really hard to build the practice to work for my life. And I feel like it almost got outside of like what a lot of dentists would feel is possible to do. And what I mean by that is like dentists not feeling they can do that, right? Because I was working 3 days a week, producing over $1 million. Like we were just running things really, really well in there. It could have been better because I was like, there's got to be some plates I got to drop somewhere. But like production-wise and keeping things up and going was good. But people would come in and look at the practice and they're kind of like, well, where's the catch? Like, how is she doing this? You know? And so I think they would walk away thinking a lot of times when you see something, it's almost like too good to be true.
Interesting.
Or that person has something special that I don't have. And that's why they're able to do that. And I can't replicate that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think about like as a young dentist, you're looking at, you know, some cosmetic dentist's practice and you're like, that's so amazing, but I can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I was in there doing bread and butter dentistry, like nothing crazy. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was starting to do some implants, but not enough for it to make a difference. Like I wasn't doing wild, crazy dentistry, just normal dentistry, doing the most with each patient, being super efficient with my time in the office.
Yeah.
And so, just building something to be able to sell. It takes time. And then again, I felt like, oh, I kind of like overbuilt this a little bit. I'm like, nobody wants it because they're kind of like, it was just like always finding something that they were like, well, but I don't know about this. And I'm like, okay. And I had several people.
Well, you can make yourself crazy with that, right? Where you're like, okay, it's perfect. And now there's still another problem. So you could spend your whole life fixing whatever nonsense people wanted.
Every dentist wants to do something different, right? It's like, I built this to suit my life and you buy it and then you make it to suit your life. And do that.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Dental and Mental Podcast and this topic resonated with you, we go so much deeper inside the Thrive Lab.
So if you too want to be copied but not replicated, come join us in the lab.
And just for you, because you listen to the podcast, if you want a full $1,200 off of the year-long subscription, just use coupon code podcast. See you then.
I want to go back to, you said that you're having conversations with other female dentists who are like contemplating, like, could this be for them?
Right.
Could they transition out? What have those conversations been like?
It's been more of a not conversation. So like I'm in some Facebook groups and just like hearing moms that are like, they're talking about.
What do you find out in those groups? Because those groups are wild.
It's crazy because I hear these moms that I was like, that was me.
Yeah,
and
what do they say?
You're about to not make a good decision. And part of me is like, stop.
Yeah, what do they say?
Because you're just going to make it worse. It's like, I'm working. For a lot of them, and I feel like this is the hard part, is they're the breadwinner, which makes it really difficult.
I was going to say, we haven't talked about that because
limited position.
I was going to say, that's why I haven't really brought that up, because I think it's fine for us to talk about this, but it's also probably necessary to acknowledge the position of privilege that we have men that are our counterparts,
right,
that can supplement whatever income we drop.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and that's
two dentists.
And that's not everybody's position, right? So,
I mean, I would see women saying, I am struggling. I'm the breadwinner. I am the one that has to take off most of the time for the kids if they're sick or this and that. I'm thinking about buying a practice so that I have more freedom to do that. And part of me is like, it's a lie a little bit, because yes, you have the freedom. You can set the schedule how you want to take care of those things. But at the end of the day, there's so much more pressure because you actually have to produce and make the money. There's like this other big monster behind all of that you have to feed and take care of. And you are just compounding the problem. You're not going to take care of your family better. I mean, I just don't see it. Like you personally taking care of your family better. Now, there are a lot of women that are making it. I'm not knocking boss mom dentists, but a lot of them are doing it because they have outsourced a lot of homemaking to other people. And again, there's no judgment.
Do it if that's what works.
Do all that stuff, so be it. But the one thing I think you can't outsource is taking care of the relationships in your family. And if you're not there, present with your kids, your husband, because you're stressed, either you're not there physically because you're at the office producing, or you are mentally not there, which was me, like, because my brain's just constantly trying to figure out how am I going to make things work. They're missing out, and you can't outsource that. Like,
Right.
You're the only person that can do that. And so
you also said something really interesting where you're like, there's this big monster and people don't really realize that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, I can take off whatever time that I want. It's like, well, you're responsible for payroll.
If you're not there working, you are not making money. So you
So
can
then
take the time off, but you got to figure out where you're going to make it up.
Right. So then you have a practice. And I mean, that's a whole different conversation that we don't have to go into.
Sure.
But you have practices that are, you think that you are the breadwinner. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it costs my family $10,000 a month just for me to own this practice and not take a paycheck.
So yeah, to circle back to like when we were having the discussion of me stepping away from dentistry, I was like, okay, realistically, Devin, I am working in this practice really hard. And at what point is enough money enough? Like if we were on just, the money you're taking home, like that's enough. We don't actually need the money that I'm making to take care of us. Like we're fine. So what is the point of me spending so much time away from the family? Like most people, the reason that their, husband and wife are working is because it's necessary to survive. And I can understand that.
Yes.
But I'm like, part of the reason I worked really hard to get to where I was at was to not have to be forced to do that. And I'm like, but I'm willingly choosing that now to like give away my time when I don't really need to. And so I said, we don't need this practice.
Yeah.
It's not serving anybody. And at this point, that's when I was starting to have like a mindset shift of like, I don't want to be doing this. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like I just feel it in my gut. Like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So
yeah,
again, I kind of go back to that idea of climbing the right mountain. It's like people are looking for validation in these groups. They are like, I have this problem. Tell me I'm making the right decision. It's like, no, you have to decide if that's what you want. Like you can make anything work if you really want it to. You can make owning a business and being a business owner and juggling it all work if you want it to, or you can make being at home work if you want it to, right? It just depends. But it's like, just because Sally down the street is doing it doesn't mean that that's going to make you happy. You don't even know if Sally's happy, to be honest. Like that's how I feel when I read a lot of the comments and when I talk to other women dentists. Is it's like we're all holding up a little bit of this facade of like, yeah, I'm really happy because this is what society, or this is the ideal of what is really important, idea of success, whatever you want to call it, is I'm doing it, but I'm not really happy.
Yes.
And it's like this fear of disappointing other people, I think, to choose to do otherwise, because again, there's that like kind of shameful feeling of like, I just spent all this time going to school, all this money. People don't think being at home with my kids is as important of a job as me being a dentist. Like I've had friends tell me, and they mean it, not in a negative way, but it's like, you're such a good dentist. Like it's sad to see you not using that skill, right? And I'm like, I understand, but my kids need me more. They're more important to me.
Yeah.
I love my patients. I miss going and talking to them every day. Like I miss doing dentistry, but not to the point of I would give up the time that I have with my kids to do that right now.
Yeah.
Because I can always go back. I have the skills. I know what I can do. I'm going to do it. If I got back into it, it's like I know the pitfalls because I've got the experience now. So I can go back and do it again if I want. But I'll never get the time back with the kids. Like they grow up and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And it's like amazing even to see my kids' energy change with me being at home. Like it was really hurtful, I'll say, at the beginning, coming home and they're like, well, where's grandma?
Oh.
And it was like, no, I want to see grandma because now I'm at home. Grandma's not there taking care of them. But now they're super happy I'm home.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be there with them. And I always kind of joke like, I don't know how I would have done it with, the practice still if I hadn't found somebody to take it over and having 4 kids. But I'm like, I would just be dumping stuff off at home, off of my to-do list because I have to take care of the business. I have to make payroll. I have to keep things going. And that's where the struggle started to come in, because it's like I started to say, well, I'll make this practice work for me. I'm going to do what all these mom dentists think the freedom of having the practices is like, I'm just going to take more time off and be at home with the family. All that does is start to, nosedive production, starts to make the practice not really sellable. So
Yeah.
It's like, am I about to throw away all the work I've put into this practice to do that? And I'm like, I can't. And that was a real big struggle for like the last year of being in practice ownership, was like, I got to keep this ball rolling. But I'm like being called so hard to just like say, let the balls drop at work and spend time with my family. Because I'm also mindful of like, I'm not going to get this time back. Like, I can't just tell the kids, hold on, wait for me. I'll be home in another year. And then we can do all this stuff. It's like, no, if I don't do it now, it's just gone.
And the other thing that you and I have talked about, because we've had conversations as friends about this, we're just not willing to sacrifice our marriages.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
That's one of the things that you and I have been like, not to say, I mean, people get divorced, things happen, whatever it is. Like, that's not, no judgment if that's the case.
Right.
But the point is, you and I have really said, like, we don't want that to be a consequence of not paying attention to that ball. Like, we don't want that ball to drop because we're so focused on something else. And when you wake up and you're like, oh, my marriage is in ruins or whatever it is because we're two men trying to make a relationship work, right? Like,
which does work out sometimes, but not this way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not, I said this on the last podcast, but I was talking about when you're really in your masculine energy and you're married to a heterosexual man, it's not that much of a puzzle when he's like, this is not what I signed up for. Yes, exactly. And nobody talks about that. Nobody like actually says that's a real thing. And if you don't want that to be the case, then there's some adjustments that need to be made. Because I think people are really casual about like, well, this is me, take me as I am.
Right.
But that's fine if the marriage not looking the way that you want it to look is a byproduct of take me as I am.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because the whole goal is to make the marriage work. Like,
yeah, like I want to be, that's, when you talked about know which mountain you're climbing, like I really want a marriage that endures a long, happy relationship. And I think it's weird for women to say that now, right? Like you're pigeonholed as something different.
Kind of like if it doesn't work for you, just go find it elsewhere.
Right. And like, somebody else, maybe you've outgrown each other or whatever it is. And not to say that people can have all of those things. Me personally am just saying that is not something that is on my vision board of maybe this just times out and you go do some other things. Like I just don't want that for me. And you don't want that for you.
No. No.
And we've talked about that. Like this is just not something that we're trying to have for our lives. Like we want,
and I've always people go into relationship with intentions for it to last. So it's like, people change and grow a little bit over time. Like it's just, we're not the same people. It's, do you want to keep working on us being together and working towards the same goal? And I tell Devin all the time, we got really lucky. Like we never had a conversation when we first started dating. And I think it's just super important to like check in every now and then. It's like, do you feel like we're living what we intended to live, or what is going to make you happy? Or what you foresaw, your life to be like at this stage in your life. And it's like, if it's not, okay, we have to stop and let's do the things that get us there. Like Devin and I think we talked about me leaving the practice for a while. And then I was like, but we're not doing the actions that are going to lead us there, right? Or even, not me leaving the practice, but the idea of us building up the practice in Albuquerque to let go of Santa Fe. I'm like, every action you were doing is building Santa Fe and not helping me build this in Albuquerque. And I'm like, if that's not what we really want, that's fine. We need to just need to be on the same page about what we're trying to do here. Because I'm like, otherwise we're spinning our wheels. And so when I was deciding to leave the practice and I really decided like, no, I want to be out, Devin, he just kept asking me like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like he almost didn't believe me. And I'm like, I am so sure. I can't be any more clear. Like I am done. I'm done with dentistry right now. I need to be at home with my kids. And I'm like, please don't ask me again. Let's just start making actionable steps towards doing this. Like, I'm not going to regret it.
So here's a question for you.
He was like thinking like everybody else, like she's going to regret throwing away her career and doing all these things. And I'm like, no, I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
So here's a question for you. When you talked about, right, so there is a certain personality type that it takes to be able to get through dental school, get a practice, bring it up at 3 days a week to $1 million plus. Like there's a lot of things that go into that, right? That requires a lot of drive, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of focus, a lot of all of that. So when you transition out of that, who do you turn into? Like, do you find yourself like how do you get validation from homemaking? How do you get a gold star? How do you be the best at right? Like, does that part of you switch off and you just don't need it anymore, or do you find it in different ways? Or
that's a really great question, and it's always funny how things just happen. You're like, I don't understand what this is for yet, but before I left the practice, Devin had gone on this CE retreat on like mindset. And one of the coaches was like, yeah, we talked to couples about like, how they want to move forward in their life. And we talked to them a few times, but Devin, he's not the therapy kind of guy. It's not therapy, but that's just not his thing. So they're like, well, we can talk with you. And we sat and I talked with this life coach about that transition, and he asked all those same questions of like, well, how are you going to go from being like this masculine energy, this I have, a checklist of things I need to get done wrapped up in your identity to like now being this stay-at-home mom. So it was like the best thing that ever happened because it made me prepare myself mentally for that and to ask those hard questions and like just think about them before it happened because, man, it was still hard even knowing that was going to happen. There are days where I'm like, I'm not, I don't want to say not being fulfilled, but like that urge to like accomplish things, it needs to be fed or taken care of. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to treat stay-at-home mom life like I'm going to school. And here are the things that I'm creating into my like, curriculum right now is like, I'm going to focus on learning how to bake or whatever it is, just pick something at home. And then I'm going to study and work on those skills. So then I feel like I'm still like growing and achieving, right?
Progressing, yeah.
Now, setting the achievement, that's really difficult because again, like I think being a stay-at-home mom is such a like broad range. Like some moms are really good at like cooking. Some moms are really good at making clothes. I don't know, whatever it is, homeschooling, whatever it is that they really excel at. And so there's not like a benchmark. I feel like dentistry, school in itself is like just benchmarks.
And they're
Jump
provided.
through these hoops.
And
yeah,
they're provided,
and it's provided.
which
Jump
we
through
don't,
these hoops.
like I think we take the hoop jumping that is provided for granted because then when you're out on your own, you're like, what? I don't even know what metrics to create for myself.
Well, this is why it's the hardest thing for most dentists is now they're expected to set the hoops, right? So that's why everybody's like, oh, well, I just need to work 4 days a week, $1 million practice. And then once I do that, I need to own multiple practices, right? And that's how we get climbing this wrong mountain because it's like, no, you need to set your own hoops and then jump through them, right?
But that's such a transition when all the hoop jumping is provided for you and then you are expected to create those milestones for yourself. What I notice from a client perspective is that I've got to get a lot of clients out of shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, well, this is the thing, this is the thing, this is the thing. And they can never stay on task because the hoops aren't provided. So they don't actually know which target to aim for.
Well, because they're afraid of making the wrong decision.
Right.
Because they're used to somebody else telling them this is the right decision.
Yes.
Make it.
Yes.
And so
going back to your point full circle about the women in the mommy groups that want validation, because it's like, somebody please tell me that
that's all I hear.
A good idea.
I just hear them screaming for, please tell me I'm making the right choice. And then, of course, there's the list of all the moms that are like, you're making the right choice. But I'm kind of I just read because I'm like, I get too worked up if I get in there. I go and
you and I
big soapbox.
You and I have talked about this. I had to exit a group because there was a woman there that it was a really good post. She was showing the roadmap because people are asking her, how do you get to $10,000 days?
Yeah.
And she posted, this is my schedule. This is exactly what it looks like. Here's how I'm doing it. and the amount of people that ate her alive. And I could not understand how this woman was getting so much hate for sharing what was working for her in her office. And she got like the biggest backlash. And I was so confused. I was like, why are we mad at her? What's going on?
No. And it was really difficult to just be reading that stuff. And then I'm like, I'm going to chime in, but it's going against everything everybody else is saying.
Yeah, and everybody will hate you for it because you're the odd voice out.
And some days I'm like, oh, well, whatever. I'm going to write it anyways because I'm like, I need it.
Some days I want to fuck around and find out.
Well, I'm just like, I'm going to help this person at least stop and think about it, right? She might not agree with what I'm saying, but she might be like, I never thought of that. Or I didn't see that. And me and Devin talk about this all the time. Like, if we just change one person, like how they're thinking about something, that's worth it.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, it goes against everything that's being told out there to women of like, you can have a family and run a successful practice, but they don't talk about the sacrifice it takes to do that. And I think it's so important to like, not just like, throw a newspaper over it and pretend like there's not a big pile of shit over there. Like, it's going to be a mess if you just need to know it's there. And if you want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you can make your choice. If you want to do it, so be it, but at least know that that's there. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't try and pretend like, I'll deal with it when it is a problem, because for 99% of the people, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's so many, I don't know, mommy dentists out there asking for help, right? They're just like, I can't do all this. And it's like, well, okay, we all need to stop saying like it's possible to do it all. It's possible to do it with sacrifice. You're either sacrificing at the practice or you're sacrificing at home.
Or an incredible amount of support.
Yeah,
right.
But you're still sacrificing with your time, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you're being supported. Like, if you're not doing it at the office, you have an associate. You have somebody who's doing the work.
Right.
And you're not
or at
there.
home, you're having somebody clean or cook or, right, you're hiring support. So it's like we're either doing this, to your point, with an incredible amount of sacrifice or support. Because a lot of people I see will sacrifice and they won't actually hire support.
Yes.
So then it
gets crazy.
Yes. Then they are like definitely crazy making, because that takes a toll on your self-esteem too, because every pan in the kitchen's on fire.
Oh, yeah. Well, I told Devin, I said, I'm not only sacrificing at home and at the practice, like I'm sacrificing my mental like happiness, because again, I'm like an achievement-minded person. So I'm like, I'm achieving nothing here and I'm achieving nothing here.
Right.
I'm actually just sucking at everything at life right now. And I'm like, this isn't even, it's not worth all this.
Yeah, because you just feel bad.
I just need to let some things go. And it's okay. Again, like if I want to get back into dentistry and own a business, I can do that later. I can do it now if I wanted to. If I'm like, you know what?
Tomorrow.
This mom life this is not for me.
Yeah.
Let me go back and go do what I'm better at doing.
Yeah. Tomorrow we could just get back into it. Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're going to do a part 2.
Okay.
And in the next part, what I want to talk about is, so we've had these roles of, we're dentists, we're married to dentists, and now we have transitioned, both you and I have transitioned into primarily being at-home homemakers, stay-at-home moms and wives. And I really want to talk to you about, what does that role look like in support of our husbands, having been and understood all of the things and inner workings that go on with business.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening and or watching the Dental and Mental Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, or any others for that matter, feel free to tap that subscribe button on YouTube, Apple, Amazon, as well as Spotify. While you're there, why not leave us a review, up to 5 stars? And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what topic you want us to discuss next.
If you like what you heard today and you want to be involved in the Thrive world, from coaching to courses or just to connect with us, go to thethrivedentist.com.